do you know all science started with looking at the sky? You're saying you want to get blown away. On the other hand, you say, I want to become somebody. Which one do you want? With men, it is outright evident when they say, I want to go to an ashram. They basically, it's not about going away from somebody. And people used to ask Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So in his own simple way, he used to describe it. So my question is, why do you want to translate this your psychological maze into Samskrita and then undo it? The advantage of Samskrita or English is, just as English has advantage over Samskrita, we go to spiritual forums for Nemmadi, Shanti, peace and peace and peace. Then I directly ask them, then you take a sleeping pill and sleep off. No, it is so comfortable. He was in the ashram for some time. And one day Ramana Maharshi asked him a question. Just as these believers use the word God, today all these scientific genes, everything means. The more you acknowledge death, the more lively you will be. Only such people are capable of jnana, actually. I want you to imagine around 500 years ago or even before, if people came out of their houses and looked outside, or especially in the night if they looked at the sky, with what sense of awe they would have looked at it. They have no idea about Earth going around the sun, what is moon, whether moon is going around the Earth, what are these dots on the sky, nothing. They have absolutely no idea what is going on. But they will see some vast phenomenon when they look at the night sky. There was a sense of awe. They don't know what the hell is happening. See, when they are in awe or in sense of wonder or intrigue, it will halt the thinking process, because whenever you are in wonder, what you are actually trying to do is, you are trying to look at it better, you are trying to perceive it better, and thinking process has to automatically stop. While as you are thinking, you cannot look at something. So whenever you are in sense of wonder, like those people who looked at the sky, they would have looked at it with such great wonder that it would have stopped. That's why we use these words called breathtaking, mind-blowing, whatever. Something in you will halt when you're in sense of wonder, when you're witnessing something too vast, too immense, too big compared to what you are. Now, what that sense of awe means is, it is a wanting to experience life much more deeply. I'm already experiencing something, I'm seeing something, but it is not enough, and therefore a sense of wonder is coming, a sense of question mark is coming. It's not a question, it's a question mark. Wonder is coming. And whenever you're in sense of wonder, it is an attempt by you to taste something much better. You want to experience it much more deeply. That's what you're attempting to do. But when thinking process starts again, you think that if I explain what is happening, I will be satisfied. For example, maybe in the beginning, they just did it very simply. They named the stars. Maybe. Then they identified the constellations, maybe. Then they saw how, in what relative motion, how they're relatively moving to Earth. That motion they charted out. So many things they would have done. All that is knowledge. And that knowledge can only describe how something is happening. It does not enhance your experience. So what happened in that process is, you can acquire knowledge. There is no problem with acquiring knowledge. You can find out, you can name things, you can come up with theories and laws and how things are happening. And that will help you to manipulate things, engineer things for your convenience. It will do all that. 500 years ago, they didn't even know anything. And now you see, we have so much technology, so much convenience. We have progressed. We will think we have progressed. We have not. We have had more convenience. There is a progress in terms of how convenient life has become, but the original pursuit with which that human being looked at the sky, that did not go anywhere. In fact, that deteriorated. See, if something is too small, whether you eat something or even you look at something, or when you, whatever way you experience things, it is, you remain intact and you experience it, some sensations happen. But when you realize that something is too vast, for example, the ocean, the immediate instinct is I have to go and dive into it. Because you can't taste it now like this. You cannot, with individual things, limited things, you cannot taste it. The immediate instinct is I want to dive into it and experience it much more deeply by dissolving into it. That is the attempt. See, when a human being looked at the sky and wondered, it is existence trying to complete the circuit. It is existence trying to wonder about itself and dissolve into itself. It is life trying to implode into itself. Existence is wondering about itself and trying to dissolve into it. It is a circuit only. It will come back to the source. The battery point is the same, but there is a world of a difference. So evolution happened and it is coming towards the source and merge into the source. And that's what a human being is capable of. But unknowingly, or because thought plays some mischief, we think that by acquiring knowledge, by explaining, that will be taken care of. And that will actually deteriorate. Now, after acquiring all this knowledge about stars and constellations and whatever, now what has happened is we cannot look at the sky with that original sense of wonder also is gone. That level of experience is also gone. It has deteriorated to a pale kind of experience, and we have a lot of explanations to compensate for that. Explanations can never compensate for experience. What a human being actually wants is a all-out dive into a life, and they want to get overwhelmed by life. For example, when people used to ask Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, can you tell us what spiritual experience is? Can you describe? So in his simple way, in his own simple way, he used to describe it. So he would say, there in Bengal, Rasgulla is popular. So he would ask, so you have eaten Rasgulla? Yes, yes. Rasgulla, when you eat, what happens? It's very tasty. I feel very nice. Suppose you took 3 Rasgullas together and you took it into your mouth and you chewed it. How would be that experience? It will be much more intense. Now, suppose there is a big, big vessel of rasgullas, and suppose your entire skin was stung, and suppose you were dipped in it. How will you experience? What will you experience? Oh, it will be too good. He said, samadhi or that spiritual experience is thousand times much more intense than that. So what human beings are looking for is intensity of experience. They want to go to some peak. So now, as you can see, why I began from this is, as you can see, the major impediment for spiritual pursuit is knowledge. Nobody will tell like this usually. The major impediment is knowledge. The major impediment is explanations. The major impediment is the psychological layers which have been built, which has actually even deteriorated the original experience also. So basically, one of the main impediments that a human being has in his core pursuit, I don't even want to call it spiritual. Every human being ultimately wants to deepen his experience. Whatever they are thinking will satisfy that, they're going simply running after it. So I don't even want to call it spiritual pursuit. It is just human pursuit. They want to deepen their experience of life so much that they will be mind blown, that they will lose their individuality, whatever they express in many ways. I was talking to somebody a few days ago. He's working somewhere, and he was asking something related to karma yoga. So I asked him a simple question. I didn't go into the scriptural way of looking at all those things, not the scriptural words. I asked him a simple question. See, everybody today, they say that we want to get blown away by life. They want their experience to become mind-blowing. They say that. On the one hand, they say like that. On the other hand, whatever work they do, whatever they do, whatever little thing they do, they say that you have to become somebody in the society or whatever. You have to have a self-image. You have to have something. You have to, I am working, I am doing this so that I will achieve and I will become somebody. So I just asked him, it's fine, I'm not giving you morals to do this or do this. I just asked, you are saying you want to get blown away. On the other hand, you say, I want to become somebody. Which one do you want? Because if you become somebody, you cannot get blown away. Getting blown away means is opposite of this. I was just telling him, you choose what you want to do. It is not somebody else telling you. It is not some sage or somebody coming and telling you, you do this, you do this. If you do that, that will become another psychological drama. I won't go into it now. Now I told you, you want to get blown away. You want to get blown away, not me. I'm not telling you. You want to get blown away by intense experience of life. At the same time, you want to become somebody and stand strongly and firmly or whatever. You want to become bigger and bigger in your personality. If it becomes bigger and bigger, it cannot be blown away. It's opposite. If somebody sees this more and more clearly, they will use their work also as a means to simply exhaust themselves and be blown away. It will no more be about achieving something and becoming somebody. It won't be about that. Only if you don't see this simple fact, people will remain in this contradiction. They will think, I will achieve something, I will become somebody. Because of that, I will be blown away. You won't be. If you become somebody, that will give you a high for one day. Next day, your experience of life will be heavier. As you go on becoming somebody, life becomes heavier and heavier. Over a period of time, people become heavier. It shows in the body also. It will become rigid and heavier. And why this is happening, to go into it briefly, why that contradiction exists. I want to get mind blown. At the same time, I want to become somebody, because whenever your experience of life becomes too intense, whether it is in a temple or in front of somebody, a guru, or simply looking at nature or whatever I refer to with respect to question, when you have a question, it is uncomfortable. Why it is uncomfortable is, as that question becomes deeper, or your experience or your sense of wonder, whatever it is, becomes much more deeper, this personality will go away, it will fade, and you have that survival instinct. It will immediately come and it will not allow you to get blown away. There are two contradictory forces in you. You want to survive as a psychological entity. Actually, the whole thing is an illusion. Psychologically, you don't have to survive. Physically, you have to survive. But psychologically, you don't have to survive. If I have to give a very simple example for what I mean by psychological survival, suppose I have 10,000 rupees salary. That's my salary. And it is enough for me to eat well and have a place for me to stay. I'm living fine, actually. I don't have problem for eating. I'm healthy. And I have a small place to stay. I'm staying. My physical survival has no problem. Okay. But after physical survival is taken care of, now psychological survival will start. I would say I want a bigger house. I would want this many furnitures. I want this. They are not physical survival. If you have it, if it happens to you effortlessly, you do how much ever you want. Again, it is not morality. It is not asking you to not have furniture, not have a big house, not that. But now my survival is taken care of. My salary is this much, and I'm actually fine by myself. But I will look at the neighbor and that will start pricking me now. I want a bigger house. This is psychological survival. I want to survive as a particular personality. When somebody comes to my house, they will look at it as weird. It's a small house. That hurts me. Actually, there is no way it can hurt you. It's not at all hurting you. Are they pinching you? They are coming and slapping you? Nothing. Whatever the face they make, whatever they, even if they taunt you, whatever it is, why should it hurt you? Because by yourself, you're actually fine. You thought that's what actually it happens to everybody. At some point, people will think, if this happens to me, that's fine. When they reach there, psychological survival will start. That's what psychological survival is. They will think something else has to be done. This is no more physical survival. This is, I'm trying to survive as a psychological personality, which has to be validated by so many people around me. So I will see their face, how they're reacting to me, what they tell me. And I will try to conform to that. I don't have to, actually. I'm fine by myself. If they come to my house and if they feel awkward, it is their problem. It's not my problem, actually. But people will make it their problem and they will try to meet those standards. So most people are stuck in meeting a certain living standard, not their lifestyle, not their survival. They're trying to meet a lifestyle. So that's an example. It's a major example for psychological survival. I'm trying to survive psychologically. So what happens in intense moments of liveliness is that this psychological survival will be overridden and you will be overwhelmed by something and you will momentarily fade away. That's what people express. Whatever they are going through when they say, I want to go to an ashram, it's not about going away from somebody. It is about it's about my own personality. I want to fade it away. I want it to fade away. I want that bundle of memory to somehow fade away. It will, if you suddenly change a place, if you go to an ashram somewhere, because the entire thing outside you is different, it will have an impact. Your personality has nothing to reciprocate. All people are different. They don't know who you are. All that is different. So you holding on to your personality will also loosen. That's why people travel. Why traveling gives them a kick is it gives them a freedom from their own personality. Otherwise, if you are around people who know you, unknowingly you will go on reciprocating. That psychological block will concretize. It will not loosen. It can. I'm not telling it cannot. Even having the same setting, you can loosen it. But when you change a place, people around you, it will happen because of the external sudden change. So whenever this happens, whenever intensity happens, whenever liveliness happens, psychological person fades away and you feel liberated, you feel whatever words you use, liberated, you feel blissful, you feel ease, so many things. And that is what unconsciously people are looking for. But when that happens beyond a certain point, immediately survival instinct will come and again you will hold. There is this tug of war always happening. And spiritual process is to consciously notice this and not support this survival instinct anymore and allow that mind-blowing to happen. See, to give a simple example of this resistance, it will happen mostly with men. Women will have their own problems, of course. Men have a problem in crying, openly. Even if they see somebody or something is overwhelming them in a movie also, whatever. Even if they see something is overwhelming them, they will hold back. I shouldn't cry. That is a very gross expression of the same thing. Men have their psychological personality much more robust. With women also it is robust, but it is not going to it now. It is a little more slippery. With men, it is outright evident. They will say, I don't want to melt. I don't want to dissolve. I don't want to get blown away. Being like this is man. So that is a very gross expression of the same thing. So there is a survival instinct which says that you have to hold it and you have to remain as a block of an entity. At the same time, the attempts will not go. You will keep in this contradiction. You will go on trying to intensify yourself. At the same time, you try to remain psychologically as a block. You'll keep doing this contradiction. So spiritual pursuit is to consciously acknowledge this and to facilitate this longing is there, which is naturally there. It is not your making, which wants to get dissolved into life, which wants to get blown away. So if you consciously approach it, then spirituality or yoga, it will give many approaches. You can use your body and do it. You can use your intellect and do it. It will give tools or approaches, different approaches, which you can consciously employ and not to support this survival instinct. Approaching this process through psychological faculty is much, much slippery, much, much deceptive. Because as I pointed out in the very beginning, what is blocking you from deepening your experience is knowledge. So what happens when you approach this psychologically is, what should actually happen is, you should be taken to more and more deeper states of question. The purpose of doing inquiry, the purpose of doing Jnana Yoga is to take you to deeper and deeper states of question. That is the main purpose of doing Jnana Yoga. But what will end up happening is, you will acquire more knowledge. Invariably, that's what will happen. And that is one of the reasons why I don't, I can, but why I consciously avoid scriptural words, Sanskrita words is many reasons. One reason is this. Now I'm talking in English. I can talk in Kannada also. Everybody knows Kannada, but now I'm talking English. I'm using day-to-day language. But the purpose of my talk is not to give you vocabulary. I'm not giving you vocabulary. I'm already using the words which you know. So there is no way you look at this as vocabulary. That possibility is not there. Yes, you have already made up some assumptions, conclusions, some crossword is there, and that has happened in today's language. It has not happened in Sanskrita. So my question is, why do you want to translate this your psychological maze into Sanskrita and then undo it? You can do it right now, undo it right now. But the moment I start using Sanskrita words now, if you are not familiar, Sanskrita, of course, people are not experts. They are not familiar with Sanskrita words. If I use Sanskrita words, if I utter Sanskrita shlokas, immediately the instinct of your mind is to look at that as acquiring of knowledge. I am coming to know something new. You will immediately grasp hold of that, make it knowledge. You will make it, and invariably you will make it, because I'm giving you new words, and you will feel good about it. See, there is a very, very big difference between feeling good about yourself and enhancing your experience of life. Extremes always look similar. A simple example is, see, people say, whenever they go to spiritual forums now, in Kannada they say, Nemmadi, 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 Shanti. This only they go on telling. We go to spiritual forums for Nemmadi, Shanti, peace and peace and peace. Then I directly ask them, then you take a sleeping pill and sleep off. No, it is so comfortable. Why you want to come to a forum and struggle? And that gets expressed in people's questions also. I heard one lady ask this question also. Somebody else, not me. She was asking, there should not be any discomfort, in any trouble, any struggle. What should we do? And that Swami said, you should die. It's the only way. See, seeking comfort is not the same as seeking bliss. They're exact opposites. Comfort is comfort, yes, but it is tamas. Extremes always look similar. You can give hundreds and hundreds of examples. Even physically, it manifests. Everywhere, extremes look similar. If light is too much, you cannot see. If light is too dim, you cannot see. Only intermediate range we operate and we live our life in that. And what we are actually wanting to do is go to the higher end. We're trying to pitch up light, liveliness, intensity. And because extremes look similar, they try to go towards the lower end. Peace, 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 comfort, comfort, comfort. And they think spirituality is about that. So that happens with this also. When you feel that you have learned something new, you have acquired some new words. Okay, I heard this Latin word, I heard this Sanskrita sentence. Okay, it's a new thing. Immediately you will feel good. That is not joy. That is not going towards sattva. It is comfort. You're feeling good about yourself for having learned something. So that is one reason. I'm not telling you shouldn't. If you're conscious of this, you can read scriptures. The advantage of scriptures, advantage or a plus point there is, see, to begin with, I can speak in English, because presently, whatever you are going through, English or Kannada or whatever, I have to use today's language only. You are in a certain state of life and you have experienced some things. So I'm trying to describe what you are doing. You want to get blown away, you want to become somebody, what you want. I'm not using any esoteric words, nothing. First, I will tell all these things to make people conscious that what they actually want, what they're trying to do. Once they become conscious of it, once they approach it consciously, and suppose they became meditative through whatever means, whether it is through devotion or inquiry or kriyas or whatever. They experience some liveliness. Then I will tell them, this is sattva. Because in English, there is no word for it. But now you have experienced something which you didn't earlier. Now I will tell, this is sattva. This is what is meant by sattva. If you didn't have that, even that gist, whatever glimpse, that experience you didn't have, but I gave you the word sattva, it will become a problem. Because what you will do now is, what is already in your experience, you will try to stick to that word. Yeah, that must be sattva. That because psychology cannot hold dummy words. The words are dummy. You immediately want to associate it with something. Only then you feel knowledgeable. Otherwise, you cannot feel knowledgeable. If I simply said sattva, okay, sattva, what sattva? Only if you associate it with something in your experience, you will associate it with sattva. So only after you came to experience something, I will tell this is what sattva is. It is brimming aliveness. You may even feel feverish. Once you became conscious of the present problem, which I explained to you in today's language only, then you took a conscious step. Okay, I will do this, something. I will do kriyas or devotion or whatever. Then I will give you words. Okay, this is what it is. Because in English, it's not there. The advantage of Sanskrit over English is, just as English has an advantage over Sanskrit today because of certain developments, it wouldn't have happened if India was not invented, actually. The language English developed alongside objective development, scientific developments. So for everything, you have enormous vocabulary. For day-to-day language, for every little thing you have, because I do translation, I see it. We struggle to translate from English to Kannada because we don't find it. The general day-to-day things, not the spiritual things. So English developed alongside objective world developments from 16th century onwards. Whereas Samskrita developed alongside a spiritual exploration where a large amount of people were exploring life. They were exploring it in various ways, and they gave so enormous vocabulary to it. For every little thing, they have a different word. So when that experiential phenomenon is alive through people, when they say 20-30% of people are in touch with it, and this vocabulary is there, it will remain alive. But if people reduce and vocabulary stays alive, it will become an added problem. And that is why I avoid consciously starting with Samskrita. Otherwise, even I can. Because if I start doing Samskrita, it will immediately become a knowledge gathering. You will start feeling good about yourself for having learned some shlokas. Whatever, same thing. If you are conscious of it, you can use it. You can read scriptures also for the same purpose. There is no problem. But this problem exists and you should be aware of it. That example sattva I gave, why I took that example is, I'm telling this honestly, I don't know how many, who is actually talking about it like that. But I was in Prashanti, I have heard many people. Nobody categorically told me in any talk to me that sattva is extreme intensity. Nobody told that. Everybody were projecting sattva as goodness, saintliness, and peace. It gives you the impression of some kind of placidity. It goes on giving you that impression only. You have to be calm, peaceful, this. But sattva does not mean that. Because extremes look similar, when your intensity is pitched up, you will touch a stillness, and therefore only the word still and peace is highlighted. But it is happening because of a tremendous intensity. It is not happening because of calmness. So this word sattva itself, no, I got it from nobody. That categorically, they might have told it indirectly, or some talks maybe, but categorically nobody said sattva means extreme aliveness, where you are alive to life and your experience has become much more profound. Of course, it is there indirectly, people will say bliss and all that. But when it comes to the word sattva, they didn't like that. There are many words. So the words will lose their potency, and they will become something else. As I was telling, whatever words we hear, we will immediately associate it with whatever is in my experience only. If I have not known anything more, I will immediately talk of it in that sense only. I will say it is peace, peace, peace. See, generally, majority of the spiritual forums, unfortunately, they'll project it like that. Peace. They will not say it is peace and intensity. They will not highlight the intensity part. And that is a problem because it will go on giving you the impression of tamas. It will go on giving you the impression of some escaping, something, all different kinds of things. If I tell this statement, Jnana Yoga is about coming to a state of question more and more intensely. It is not about knowing something. It is not about knowledge. How do you take that? Do you understand what I'm saying when I said that?
Yes.
No, I understand.
Okay. How many people have explicitly, categorically told like that Jnana Yoga is about coming to a question? It is highlighted as inquiry. I know Atma Vichara. What am I? Who am I? But as people go into that, it will, after some time, they will start carrying a layer of knowledge. That knowledge is supplied. It has a purpose actually. See, even my book, why it became so thick. I will give a contrasting example. See, in Ramana Maharshi's ashram, he was not very intellectual. He was not giving long talks actually. Somebody came and he was in the ashram for some time. And one day Ramana Maharshi asked him a question. He used to do it to many people. He simply asked him a question. Your heart is beating. Yes. What is beating your heart? And that's all. For that man, that question was enough. My heart is beating. That's a wonder for them, suddenly. Oh, who is beating it? What is beating it? It is beating every minute. I am not beating it. But why we don't wonder about it is because biology is there. Biology has explained something. It has actually not. It has actually not explained why is this beating. It is taken genes. Genes are for everything genes. That's one. Just as these believers use the word God, today all these scientific genes, everything genes. For every simple thing they will. But actually it doesn't answer. It's going on, pumping. It's not a small thing, continuously. Actually, another thing will happen. If you wonder about it, okay, I am not pumping. What if it stops? No. We are taking it for granted. What if it may, because also heart attacks are increasing everywhere. What if it stops? No. When that question comes, self-inquiry will happen. Actually, death is another way to make you self-inquire. Because death is also taken for granted. That's another way your logic can be hit hard. Because logic cannot answer death. It thinks it has explained something. But so when you acknowledge death, actually, you become more lively. Life and death are not different things. Only when you are involved in thought, liveliness goes away. Actually, opposites are life and thought. Life and death are not opposites. The more you acknowledge death, the more lively you will be. Why liveliness goes down is death is not acknowledged and thought is becoming dominant. Knowledge. No, I know. Now to scrape it off, so much has to be again told. And the danger is it may become further knowledge. That is the vicious cycle with Jnana Yoga. Information is given, knowledge is given, or whatever lines of reasoning is given in Jnana Yoga so that existing assumptions, conclusions can be challenged. See, just to give another contrast, I told that people looked at the sky and they used to wonder, and slowly it became science. See, you know all science started with looking at the sky. Western science also, and even maybe long ago in India also, it started like that. What intrigued them most is the sky. What is this enormous network happening? Then it became science. They started noticing constellations, movements, relativity, all that. So after doing all that science, many people think they have gotten something new and now they cannot look at the sky. But there are some scientists who are now able to look at the sky with much more wonder. Only for some people it has happened. Only such people are capable of jnana, actually. I'm giving you a percentage. Something blocked them, intellect started functioning, okay, fine. It worked. Finally, they realized intellect is limited. And now they are left in much more wonder. There are some scientists like that who realize the limit of this, and you can see in their utterances and interviews. They're in a bigger state of wonder. All the knowledge and learnings they did is not blocking them because they are true, they're straight with themselves. They're honest enough to see that this knowledge has not given me what I was actually seeking. So some scientists will come to that. Percentage-wise, it's less. Whereas if you see the other side, other kind of human beings who we call as poetic minds, they don't go into that digression. They start wondering at nature, they will continue wondering at nature. They don't want to explain nature. They will exclaim many things. They will describe nature. They will do all that. But their sense of wonder will go on increasing. When they write poetry on nature, they are not explaining nature. They are only outpouring their emotions. So when they go on doing that, that will intensify, and that is an easier way, percentage-wise, it works for more. And that is what you can say as devotional path. They are not even trying to explain. They know it cannot be explained. They have realized it. They are intelligent from the very beginning to see that explanations will not work. So they will not go through all that intellectual labor and finally come to a greater sense of wonder. That unnecessary labor they will not do. They will directly go through, they will intensify their wonder, and that's another way of doing it. Such people are actually more in number, and that is why bhakti is applicable to more people. But the problem is people who do bhakti, their intellect is still there. And that becomes belief, and that becomes a huge problem. That's what I wrote the book for. Devotion will become belief. And after that, neither is happening. Inquiry is also not happening. Their right brain, poetic mind is also not happening. It will just stagnate.